the documentation. And I'm not going to actually use the documentation. I'm just going to show you how to do it. But the documentation is in our documentation on Aqua 7. Here, APD, and the documentation title is Steps to Release APD New Release. Steps to Release APD New Release. It's in the APD folder in documentation. Okay. All right. So, again, I'm not going to go over this. I'm just going to show you how to do it.
Okay.
So the first thing you're going to do is fire up Visual Studio and bring up development platform. And generally what I do is I will go through and run a few tests to make sure everything's functional, like, you know, open up a design, create a new design, open up a report, stuff like that. I go through and just make sure everything's kind of working before I do anything else. So bring up Aqua Development or APD Development. I usually do like the same old design each time, and then I create a new one. Usually create a, you know, say a filter, an SPR, build it. But then after I'm through with that design, I'll delete it. I'll delete the design. Just to. The one thing I've stopped doing, I used to do, is I used to create a project every morning too. I stopped doing that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that too much.
Marshall.
Didn't like to create a new project every morning type thing. Had to clean that up. So, anyway. So here's the development platform. I'm gonna go ahead and run it, and just do exactly what I do every Tuesday, Thursday if I have to release. So I'm gonna go out here and open up a 999 project. And there's an old test project I use all the time. It's the same one over and over again I use for old design. It's got everything in it pretty much. Paul uses a lot to make changes. It's this 12250 constant change design. That's the one I use every time I release to open up, because it has a lot. It's got pretty much every basin in it, and you know, so that's one I'd recommend using, is the 12250. So I basically just open up that design. I go into a few of the tabs here. I don't use the same tabs every time, but I just go in randomly and pick different tabs. Like I'll do like exception clarifications, make sure that's, you know, get into that. But again, I don't do a 100% check of everything in that design, but just kind of randomly pick stuff. Then I go to reports and run a prelim. And again, I pick different ones too on that. So just to make sure everything's can load up and working. Because this process here actually, usually for the most part, is the longest part of the whole process, is the testing, the testing piece. But you don't want to skip that, because, you know, if you did skip that, you know, and you rolled it out, that'd be a nightmare. So, and something happened. Okay, so I've tested everything on the old design. I'm gonna close that out. I'm gonna create a new design. And let's see, I'm gonna create a filter. Now the filter I do recommend using, like if you're going to do a filter to test, it's easier anyway if you do a secondary prior treatment, and then on this average and max design, all you have to put in is like, you know, 20,000 and like 40,000. That's what I generally do.
You're recording all this?
Mm-hmm. And basically that's just some numbers, dummy numbers to put in there. Go to loading calcs. Click one of these radio buttons, doesn't matter. Continue. Package is always going to be default. You have to select one of these radio buttons here to get a filter unit. And then worksheet, right click, do an auto build. So you're testing here, I guess, the auto build feature and that things are loading properly in the BOM. Once it loads, I'll run a report on this design, making sure everything shows up properly there. I'll go to reports and let's run a filter summary. Let's run a filter summary. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Filter summary came out good. I'll close out the BOM. And lastly, I'll go to that design I just created. Let's go ahead and close it first. And this is being recorded, so you can go back, you can pause it and all that good stuff. Right click, well, let's go down to the very bottom one here. Right click, delete design. And I find it too, it's good to do all these steps because
It helps your testing.
it helps you keep it fresh in your memory
Yeah.
as well, and so I find it to be
that's
helpful.
the problem often. You don't do it very often.
Exactly. Then the last thing I check after I've deleted that design, I will go into, after I'll close this design window, I'll go into a number of these up here. Like I'll go into, say, schedule. I won't do anything in there, but I'll open it up, exit out. I'll go into installation query, close it out. I'll go into master list, which this is, takes a long, it used to take the longest. Actually, it's sped up quite a bit. It opens a lot quicker than it used to. And then customer service. And then about once a month, this is one that I guess most people don't use a lot. I know Stacy and them do. This open by correspondence up here on the menu. I test that at least once a month and you come here and you select find by like email, project fax, letter, memo, or telecom. So I'll do like email and just choose whatever I want here. You have to click the drop down. You'll select an email.
Okay.
Loading here. What it does is it opens that project by that email correspondence.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, and there's a few folks that use it, so I test that periodically, like once a month I usually do that. And let's see, that's it, as far as development test. And then I go ahead and exit out of development. Now I'm ready to do the next step, which is publish development. And since I'm already in development, what I'm going to do here is, before you start doing any merging and publishing, I always close out of development, close out of the solution. That way, all I see here is my team source control. That's all I see. And the tree you're going to be using is the aqua_Neptune tree in source control. And you're going to have 3 branches: APD production. That's the 32-bit live, and then APD production 64-bit, and then the one that we're on currently, just tested, is the development. The Neptune Pads Beta is a development branch. So here's a development, 32-bit, 64-bit.
Mm-hmm.
These 2 here are the live.
Okay.
And so basically what you do now is you I'll open up that development again here so I can show you. In the development, you need to make sure, first of all, that you go to the signing tab in the project properties. There's a signing tab here, and the signing tab issues whether it's signed as to be published or not. And so basically you want to do a select file, and there's 2 keys. There's a development key.
Back up to that.
Yeah. The signing tab here, or signing.
Yeah. Okay. You're
It's signing. select from file. And as far as where I'm at, stepwise, I'm actually right. Nope, actually right here. Signing tab, select from file. You select the publish.pfx file, this one right here. You open it up. Password is techno77. All lowercase. And then after you've done that, you'll see in there that you've signed into it. And then the next step is you go to Publish tab. Publish tab now, you're almost ready. You're now ready to publish. And then there is lastly in the Publish a Publish Now button. This one right here, Publish Now button. And you're going to click on that. This will not work though if you've not done this step. If you've not went into the signing tab and select that publish.pfx. If it's still in development PFX, it's not going to, it'll tell you it'll fail on the publish.
Okay.
So if it does fail, that's what you forgot to do. You didn't go into click the signing publish.pfx. There you go. And since we don't have we did have a machine, the deployment PC back there in the back. We don't have that anymore. So what I did with Jim, I'll do the same with you. I'll just give you the password of my machine, and you can do it here on my machine. It's going to be the best way to do it. Because I have everything on here, the 64-bit, 32, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to be easier to do it that way. Let's see. So now when you publish it, you get this screen here. It shows up on your monitor. And this is basically just saying this is published, and this is the web page it creates when it's published. And that lets you know that it's finished the publishing cycle. It'll also say down here, Gary, in the output, it'll actually tell you publish success. Right there, just highlight it, say publish success. And that HTML file I just showed you is right here. It renders that HTML file, and it pushes it out a brand new one each time to the 18 Neptune production client installer path. It puts in this opta apd.htm file.
Okay.
That one that popped up. Okay, so we published. Once publishing is complete, you go back to the signing. This is crucial too on the development side. You go back to the signing, select from file, and select the development key PFX. So let's do that. Signing, select from file, development key PFX. That one doesn't have a password because there's no password tied to it. And then save all. I have that written down here. Save all. So all the stuff you should have to write anything down because it's all literally here. Then what you're going to do is check in your changes, put your initials along with pub. So mine would be CK pub, and I always use that. That way I know it's just a publishing push is all it is here. So I'm going to go to pending changes, CK pub, check in. Now we're ready for the next step on the document, which is release APD live. I lost my VPN got turned off. Okay. Next is we've released 18. Now we're ready to release APD Live 32-bit. That is the next step. So before we do that, though, it says on number 1 here, close APD development project, file, close solution. So file, close solution. Now click on Team Explorer. We're going to go to, you know how to get there, source control, and expand the Aqua Neptune tree right here, and right click on Neptune's pads beta. Right click on that, and we're going to do a merge is what we're going to do. Branch, you have a branching and merge.
Hold on, John.
Once you do the branching and merge, this screen here will come up.
Well, select merge, but to get that, you missed a step, didn't you?
No, right click on pads beta and select merge. And it comes up here. Right click on pads beta, branching and merge.
Branching and yeah, you don't have branching and merging there.
Um,
So how would I know?
That's why I'm doing a screencast. Because it has on here select merge. I think they changed in the new version. It says branching and merge.
Okay.
So what you want to do here is you want to do selected changes, and that's crucial. You have to do selected changes here. If you don't do selected changes, then it's going to bring everything over. And that's real important. You don't do that. You don't want everything development and live.
No.
Okay. So that if you miss that one piece, you're screwed all up. So selected changes. Now notice here, here's a development branch. Here is a production branch. That's the 32-bit. This one right here is the 32-bit. The 64-bit says 64, 30-bit does not.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the 32-bit. Then, so you've done selected branch. You don't have to change anything but the selected branch. You're going to go from here to here, and that's it on this screen.
Okay.
Then next. What it's doing now is it's looking for all of the check sets. The only one we're going to do today is this one here because it says pub in it. Everything else does not say pub, and so everything else is staying. Okay, so the only one you're going to check in is things that say pub or publish. That's all you're going to do. And so I'm going to select this one. Now if you have more than one, say we had a pub here and we had a pub here. This one wasn't pub. You would check in 2 times then. You would do a 2 merge step, all right? Because there's no way you can do a control click, and skip one. So you'd have to do it twice, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and select that one, which is the only one. Next, it tells us all necessary information for merging has been collected. We're now ready to resolve it. Hit finish. And every time this will come up, you're going to have a conflict because of the version differences between the two, between development and between 32-bit. So all you got to do is there is a merge changes with the merge tool is the one you want to make sure you remember. And so I'll go ahead and click that, merge changes and merge tool. And on the left side is the pads beta, the development, and the right side's production. The only thing you need to make sure, and it's that revision change I told you about. You just check that. Everything else is good to go, and you accept the merge. When this is empty, everything is good to go. All conflicts have been taken care of. Now you're ready to right-click on production, 32-bit, and check in pending changes. And again, you're going to do initials, pub, and I generally put on that like 26, CK pub 26. On the 64-bit, I do CK pub 26, 64-bit. Check it in. And I'll go ahead now and right-click on production in 32-bit. Do the very same thing I did from development to production. I'll do a branch and merge, select changes. This is now the 32-bit merged to the 64-bit. Click next. There's only one in there. Select it. Finish it. Right click on that branch, check it in. CK pub 2664-bit. Click that in. And technically, for between the 32-bit and 64-bit, you could probably, I could technically do a merge all, and it's not going to hurt it because I'm only merging from 32 to 64. So there's not going to be any development changes in the 32-bit live. But I always do, just to make sure it's the same, I always do select changes each time. Then once I've merged everything, checked everything in, I do this one last time. I make sure and right click on both of these to make sure that all changes have been checked in. And they have. Then I go back to the 32-bit, open up that in development in your machine. And we're going to basically on this one, just start the application. And I will open up a old design and see if I can get a report to come up. And that's it on this test. But everything should be good because we've just tested in development before we did anything. But I always do this just to make sure everything's good before I publish it. And I'll do the same on 64-bit. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and probably have it in history still here.
Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie. Yeah, I'm just going to open up an old design here. That's it on this one. There's not as much testing on the live side. And do a prelim. What I might do if you want is Tuesday of next week. We can do the same thing, but I'll have you do it. And I'll sit where you're at. I'll sit where you're at and watch you.
Okay.
That way, then I'll walk you through it. And if you have any questions, which I'm sure you will.
Do it.
And I'll update this document too, because there's a few of the screenshots that are different with this new version that are on here. But, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the report. It ran fine. Close project. That's the only testing I do on the 32-bit.
There's quite a few steps involved.
There is a
You
lot of
do it
steps. A lot of steps.
every week,
And it's good to do too, because I did that with Jim. I had him sit down and do it. He did it once or twice before, after I showed him how to do it. Okay, so that's good. So the difference between development and the live 64 and 32-bit is, on the signing tab, unlike development, it's always going to be ready to publish. You never have to go generally and get a pub key. But if you do, it's the same process. It's going out and grabbing the publish key. The reason you know it's a publish key, by the way, is my name will be in the publish key. Jim's name is in the development key. My name's in the publish key. So that's how you kind of know. If you see my name, you know it's the publish key. But it's not going to hurt to actually go out and just to make sure and grab that publish key again. It's not going to hurt anything to do that, and to open it up again. It's not going to give you any conflicts. And now I'm ready to publish it. And the way Visual Studio works with one click is it does update that revision by 1 each time. It increments the revision number by 1. Excuse me, it is currently 311. Now it's going to be 312. And now I'm ready to do a publish now. It's going to do the same thing. If everything's working correctly as it did in development, it's going to go through and publish the files to the Aqua 26 path production client installer. Lastly, it will publish a new HTML and kick it out. This is the final screen telling you it's done. And I always check this just to make sure. It does say here that this has successfully been published. successfully checked in, successfully published.
Where does it say that?
Down here on the right. I think it's still rendering it. Yeah, doesn't say it on here. It does on the development side, doesn't on this side. But the key is that you've got the that screen that pops up that tells you that it's published, the HTML key. It should be in the log here though. I don't see it though. That's not going to be showing up here right now. So I published the 64 or the 32-bit. Now I'm going to save all and close that solution. And you will have to check in after you publish each time, because when you do publish, it does add that publish log to source control. And so all I do here is do another ckpub check in. And now I'm ready to go to 64-bit branch, open it up. Run it. I'm going to open up the very same design I did on 32-bit.
Do this every Tuesday and Thursday?
No, I've been down on average doing it about 3 or 4 times a month, about 4 times a month generally. I don't have to do it every Tuesday, Thursday.
You don't have a lot of activity.
Nah. I have SAM filter stuff, but that's mainly publish it on development pretty much every day, but not I don't have to merge that to live. But with the way I'm developing SAM filter, I do go ahead and publish it to live because it doesn't hurt anything, because there's only a few folks can get into it. So I will say the last couple months I have been publishing pretty much every Tuesday, Thursday because of that. Because of the SAM filter changes. And because of the meeting yesterday with Paul, I'm going to have even more. We're going to have more changes in there now. And we have installation changes I'm making now with James's areas, so there'll be a constant Tuesday, Thursday for the next few months, I'm guessing. Okay, so open up that same old design, go into reports, prelim package. Yeah. Yeah, who designed that, I wonder? Okay, close the report. Project. And go to signing just to make sure. There's my name, I'm good. Go to publish. Publish now. It says when it's rendering, you can see where it says publishing files. I think it must default back to the, yeah, there it said it on this one, publish success.
Mm-hmm.
I must have keyed off the other one or something. So this one's successfully published. I'm going to go ahead and do a save all, close solution, another check in. So I've checked in and published development, 32-bit, 64-bit, and done the merges from development to 32, from 32 to 64, and published all 3. The last step is you've got to go into APD on this machine and launch. This is 64-bit, so it's going to launch a 64-bit APD installation. And once I launch the 64-bit installation successfully, I go over here and launch the APD development version as well, because I released that. That's a new publish as well. Once this is successful, I do have on this machine the ability to access my XP machine over there. And I always also do the test on that because there's users here that still have Windows XP 32-bit. So right here is the icon to get to remote desktop. It's already default. This remote desktop is already default to go to my XP 32-bit client. All you have to do is hit connect. You don't have to log in. It's an auto login thing. And what I do here is on the desktop icon, just double click on it and do the very same thing I did on my 64-bit machine. I'll launch APD 32-bit. Once it launches successfully, I'll then click the link to launch APD development to make sure it works as well. So the life cycle of your publish Tuesday and Thursday is not only the testing of development, merging development to 32/64-bit and publishing those three platforms, but it's also going into the 64-bit client, making sure the client runs and installs for the live and development, both on a 64-bit and a 32-bit client, all before 7 o'clock. So, but once you've done it umpteen times, it's, no-brainer. But be good for you to sit here and do it, and I can help you at least once or twice, I would think.
Yeah.
And then whoever we hire, I'll do the same thing. And since it's, I've not done a screencast like this, so this is nice. That way you can, walk through it and pause it if you need to. And
Yeah.
whatever.
I'll look at it before I try it next Tuesday.
Yeah, and I'll put this link to the podcast in the documentation
Okay.
too. That way you kind of easily viewed on an iPad or something too, maybe.
Baby steps to knowledge.
Yeah, baby steps to knowledge. And don't do a Jonathan Winters impression.
How's that go?
I don't know.
Yeah, kind of crazy. He was sort of.
Mhm. Mhm.
He was good though.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was a role model for a lot of comedians.
Oh yeah.
Mark Frickett.
Mhm.
I know that.
Okay, so this is on my XP machine. Now I'm going to test the development.
So, where's Jane gonna go to school? Spring. Oh, I think you said spring Tuesday.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. I see Harlem. Harlem High School started yesterday.
Oh yeah, I know. I saw that on the news last night.
Wow.
Well, that school's already started.
That's early.
Okay, so the development launched, live launch, development launch, both on 64 and 32-bit platform. No problems there. And then I will exit out of my 32-bit machine here, it's XP. Go back in development, make sure I've checked everything in. Give Visual Studio a break for a second. I'll take a break usually after that. And